There we are, back on track. Okay. So, that's what it looks like. Everyone see that?
Yeah.
So there are 9 domains. So these are 9 areas, domains that you need to demonstrate your knowledge and ability in relation to these 9 domains. And there's various levels at which you're assessed in terms of the professional capabilities framework. So in fact, you have all already been assessed against the professional capabilities framework because there is an entry level. So so the stuff that we do at selection is mapped to show that you have the basic levels of capability to start the course. But there is a readiness for practice level, so students are required to do prior to going on placement. I'll say a little bit more about that in a sec. Okay, but really important to the module. The module was developed in partnership, so lots of consultation with people who use services, people who've come into contact with social workers, employers. What is it that students need to, people who qualify, what is it that they need to be prepared to be able to do? So we did lots of that. We set the module up. We then did lots of cat torturing or reflection. So bear in mind, I'm trying to think, I think it was, when did I set this? A long time ago, right? It's changed massively over the years because obviously every year I think, that didn't work and change it a bit, and I get feedback from students and various others. So it has changed a lot over the years. There's some core things that are still there. And we do get feedback every year. So these levels relate to that professional capability framework. So there are 3 levels that will be assessed against throughout the course. Okay. So the first level is readiness for direct practice, and that's the level that I'm going to be working with you on in this module. So the Pebble Pad portfolio is that. It's the professional assessments that you have the skills and abilities needed to go out and be safe and engage well with practice. Okay. And then obviously you go out on placement at the end of the year, and then that's the next level up, that by the end of that placement you need to have stepped up to the next level, and then in the final placement there's a step up again. Okay? So that's the final qualifying level of the professional capabilities framework. It does continue, so there is in the UK an assessed and supported year in employment. So that means that even once you've qualified, if you go and work for a local authority, you'll be expected to be assessed again at the next level. It's not a requirement. There was a whole thing that it was going to be a statutory requirement. It's not. You will be a social worker when you finish the course, so long as you maintain your registration. But if you work in a local authority, it's likely that they're going to expect you to do the assess and support you in employment. And that came out of, the reviews that we had was like, okay, some of the people working with those children were newly qualified social workers who weren't getting the supervision they should have been having, hadn't had the training that they should have been having, and were given very complex cases that they should have been given that early on in their career. So it can feel a bit like, when am I ever going to be just done? But actually, remember, it's an assessed and supported year in employment. So it is that you have more supervision. You shouldn't be holding cases that are super complex, recognising that you're still learning even once you've qualified. But these are the levels while you're on the programme. And the 30 days is important. So prior to the reform of social work education, all students did 200 days of placement. But the recommendation was that gets reduced to 170 days, but we have to deliver within universities 4 30 days of, the equivalent of 30 days of skills development activity. So it looks slightly different at different universities, but obviously we've developed it and sat it within this module, so that's where that requirement is. Okay. So there is a requirement that you do 30 days of skills development activity. Now that means that if you did miss sessions, you have to demonstrate that you've made that work up. Okay, and that's all held on PebblePad. So there's sort of more of a requirement on this module than other modules because of the professional requirement that you have to show that you've done that work. Okay, and I'll show you how you do that. Let's pause for a second. Then we've got any questions about any other stuff. That makes sense? So that's why the module is different. Yeah, you don't just turn up for like 3 hours a week and then write an essay at the end. That's because how would that prepare you for practice of the actual interaction?
So basically we'll need to have access to PebblePad to do portfolio work, which will be 30 days stuff.
All on there, yes. So I'll show you that in a minute. But,
is it all on there now, is it?
Yes, it's all on there. It's all on there. So for those heelys, so on there, well, I'll show you it now actually, so as I say, in fact, let me start with Blackboard. So, in terms of Blackboard, if I do that, it should show you. So hopefully this is what your Blackboard page, for those who want it, looks like. Yeah, marvellous, because the BAs it didn't. Marvellous. Obviously you can have a look, you can't break anything, so just have a look at everything on here. But this assessment section details all elements of the assessment, and you can see the PebblePad link there. Yeah, so if you click on there, it should automatically set up your PebblePad portfolio, she says confidently. If I show you what that looks like. Some people love PebblePad, some people don't. But PebblePad is what you'll be using on placement at the end of the year. Those placements use PebblePad. So again, the other reason we did it this module is that you'll be hopefully used to PebblePad when you go out on placements.
And the placements know how to use PebblePad.
The placements, yeah.
That's the nightmare when they don't.
Yeah. I mean, unless they're a new practice educator, but most of our practice educators work with it all the time. So, no, not that one. You are not that one. You are this one. So, if I click on, try this workbook. This should look like it will look to you. So what you'll see is all of the weeks are across the top. Okay, so every week there's quite a lot of guided learning. Okay, it's really important that you keep on top of that. It's quite front-loaded for a whole range of reasons, because we kind of need to get into things quite quickly. So just to reassure you, once you get into kind of hand-in essay time, it does ease off a little bit, because by then you've done, the book. But, there are some things that will take you a few minutes, some things that will take you a little bit longer. So basically you click on any of these things and it tells you what I would like you to do. So this is just an opportunity for you to have a look at the PCF, have a look at the different domains so that you get a sense of, okay, what are the expectations of you at that level, and just write some comments in there. So most of the work you do directly on PebblePad. There are a couple of things that you might have to photograph evidence and upload it, but that's apparent and it says click here to upload. Most of it you work on here. Okay? So that means I can see it, you can see it. You don't have to then submit it at the end. I can see it all the way through. Okay? So you will also notice that there is this bit at the bottom called additional work. So if you miss any of the sessions, this is where you do your catch-up. Okay? So if you've attended all your sessions, you can ignore this section. Okay? But if you have missed any, so yeah, it's all in sections. Hopefully it's quite self-explanatory. Okay. Okay, any questions about any of that? Is that sort of making sense? Are people feeling all right?
Do we just do it week by week?
Yeah, so yeah, the plan is, the way it's been designed is that you do it week by week. So, like next week, by the time you get to class,
It's week 1 and 2.
I'm expecting you to do week 1. I plan it all.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
have a lesson, do the week lesson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So for example, for next week, quite often, so what I talked about in induction a little bit is the way I sort of design my teaching is, and this is from years of teaching and realising that traditional approaches aren't always the most effective in my experience. So I have recorded, so for the theories that you're going to be learning, I have recorded a presentation about
one of them. What is this?
yeah, and it's my lovely, delicate voice talking through the theory. So there is a recording. So for example, for next week, it's the evidence-based practice one, because we're going to be looking at evidence-based practice in class. So on here, I'm not going to click it because I'll just cringe hearing my own voice reflected back at me. So listen to the presentation, and then basically we can spend the time in class applying it, making sure you understand it. Otherwise, I just drone on in class, you zone out, and then you've diagnosed properly.
I'm guessing the portfolio is pass-fail.
Yes.
So is
Thank
it
you.
marked per week or?
I will come on to that, but yes, you're right. So the portfolio bit is, have you met the readiness for practice level or not? Yeah. So it's just pass or fail. The essay is graded, so that's where you get a grade from. Yeah. But yeah, I'll come on to that in a sec. Okay. So my feel a bit, it does mean that the classroom bits, particularly because we're going to be in the afternoon, it's going to be much more active than me doing much of what I'm doing today, hopefully. But it will mean that you'll need to engage with the learning. There is also, I have separated the reading lists out into sections. So like, if you're listening to my presentation and you're still thinking, feel like I need a bit more, there are other resources that you can access to follow and do a bit of more reading around or whatever. Okay.
With some of the online books, I was wondering, especially for the reading for this week, I was looking at it and it wouldn't let me access it at all. It goes to the website and it says that we don't have authority to read the chapter for today's session.
For my session?
Yeah.
Did I say you're only reading for today?
There was a journal and then there was one chapter in the book.
That's on the other one. isn't
That's
it?
in the module, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. But no, it's still an issue if you can't get access to it. Okay, well I'll go and have a look because I put that on for Abby because she wasn't set up. Didn't have access.
Is that what before today?
Yeah, it was on there. Abby said if possible, if students could read these things ahead of the session today. So I'd put them on there for you. So I can't understand because I had to get that chapter digitised, so I don't understand why.
Yeah, when I went down to the reading list to find that book, it went to the website for it and then there was no read or preview.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sometimes it does that and you have to go through the library and then find it again. New format, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, was it? Does your blackboard get sorted? Because I'm aware just as you sit, yeah, so you can know, because I know you couldn't see anything. Okay. If people experience any of those issues, like I can't access the reading, feel free to either email me as module lead or Abby as module lead or whatever, and we'll look into it, because I don't get why that would be. All of my guided learning, or whatever you want to call it, is all on here. Okay, but there are some links, I think, to various things to read. I do a lot of recorded stuff as well, so, yeah. Okay, so important that for anyone who hasn't got access, that we prioritise that and you let me know if you're struggling so that Okay? So, that's, well, I've gone off on a tangent. Let's see if I can get myself back on track. Where was I meant to be? Oh yeah, I forgot about this. So, what am I doing for time? We're all right, it's warm in here, isn't it? Shall I get some windows open? Yeah? Let's get a bit of air going. Oh, that's nice. We get some windows. You probably would be aware, because there's no reason you would be, but the course has just been reapproved. So, Social Work England, the regulator, approve our course, make sure that it's okay, and we do what we need to do, and it was reapproved in June. One of the things, and that involves a lot of work for me, a lot of work for me, and a lot of consultation. So, we went out and we spoke to students who did the course, who are now out in practice, and said, what bits were good, what bits were less good, and all of that kind of stuff. Employers, people with lived experience, did all of that. And there were a few recommendations that came out, so a few things have changed slightly. And one of the things that came out with students who'd completed the course and were in practice, but also employer partners as well, was that we need to do more on cultural competence. And there are different terms around cultural, so there's cultural competence, or there's some people who write about the idea of cultural humility. So I was thinking, like there's things I do in my module that we'll come to that will help us think a little bit about culture. But I thought, actually, what we have in this room is a real range of different cultural backgrounds. And what we can do is learn and experience that with each other. So what I'm going to propose, we'll see how it goes, right, is that I'm going to ask a member of the group, I think it's every week, to spend 5-10 minutes just talking about their culture. Okay? I'm going to start, because I thought that might be helpful. Yeah. So tomorrow I will do my little bit. I love talking about myself. That's fine. So tomorrow I will talk a little bit about my culture, and then say what you like. It's your culture, but it'll just give you a little bit of a sense. So let me. So I'm just going to read. So this is, oh God, I haven't got my glasses. So this is from Hubman, Culture, Values and Ethics in Social Work. Culture is the shared values, attitudes and expectations that people who regard themselves as being of the same broad social grouping would see as characterising what it is to be a member of that group. Okay? Culture is a combination of a worldview and of social practices that express and sustain them. So culture includes such things as religion, types of belief system, systems of morality, law, patterns of family structure and relationships, including marriage and the care of dependents. The description of social roles and status, including gender roles and so on. It also refers to common assumptions around such things as food and drink, clothing, music, arts, crafts, including the production and use of tools. I haven't got any ideas of tools that I'm going to bring tomorrow, but we'll see what comes. As well as how people should maintain their existence and contribute to the existence of society, what is routinely called work. So I'm not saying you have to include all of that if you do it, but that gives you some ideas of some of the things you would share, just to share something about your culture. Okay, but I'll start tomorrow, and then I tend to like to ask for volunteers rather than put people on the spot, but we'll see how we go with that. Yeah? Okay. Okay. So, has anyone heard of this term? Meta-learning before? So this is the idea of developing people's awareness of their learning and how they can take control of their learning. So I've become increasingly interested in this idea of meta-learning because the reality is, for social workers, there's an expectation that your development will never end. You will always be developing when you get out into practice. So developing some effective ways of improving and continuing learning will really help you when you get out in practice. So I'm just going to shut up for a bit. And I'd like you to just have some conversations on your table about these two questions. So have a conversation about some learning that you've enjoyed, and like why you've enjoyed it, and a time when you learnt a lot. That might be formal education, it might not, yeah, whatever. Okay? So have some conversations about those and then we'll do a bit of feedback. Okay? Good.
I think
learning by yourself, or like?
I enjoyed, what about you? I was learning some kind of So there was a so then they just we got together and went, why is our own sugar pool but because everyone in education was really small, because they were like him to this one, we're going to watch the so then they went to like this university So they give you still beneficial to the factory. So what was possible now to get the hands on even more workers were spending so much time sitting and not dying in the jobs. So then we spend the money in order to train people
It used to be something to keep the old lands on It's still useful. I'm struggling because sometimes when I say say 300 it scares me. I'm trying to if there's
I'd just like to get a sense of some of the discussions that you've been having on your tables. So some of your kind of reflections on learning. So I'll take, contributions, or we'll go around the table. So who wants to start?
About some learning I've enjoyed, my foundation degree and the integrated working I did last year. I did a lot of reading on serious case reviews.
Okay.
And a lot of them, it was like I know this sounds weird, but I enjoyed reading what we can do to make things better, and how it was a lot of miscommunication why children got let down or slipped through the net.
Yes.
I know that sounds really crazy, but I just enjoy reading them.
So let me just be clear. There's something about reading serious case reviews or reading generally.
Case reviews, yeah.
So is that because it's very it's very real? Like, I'm just wondering, just trying to get.
You can see it, Cora. You can see how that impacts you. So you can learn about the theory or hear about we're going to work with abuse, things like that. But until you actually hear the stories of what actually happened, what actually went wrong, you're like, oh my god, that you get a context.
Context, yes. So it's something about it's important to contextualise the learning. It's important.
The more you read about it as well, the more you think, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, reflection.
Yes. So there's something about engaging with things, but then a reflective process about it as well that's important to learning. Yeah, good. Thank you. What other discussions do people have?
I enjoyed learning, when I did my placement, I enjoyed learning about the different types of domestic abuse.
Okay.
Because at first, when I first started, I didn't realise all the different laws and the new law that come in, and I didn't realise, but I enjoyed learning that there's all these different elements to it, and it's not just one thing.
Yes. So, well, I guess I'm interested in how was that delivered to you? Was it a training thing? Was it discussion?
Well, I trained with a domestic abuse charity, so they obviously trained.
So it was their training?
Yeah, like there was economic, and I was like, oh my god, it's a minefield.
Okay.
Because I used to shout at my lecture because we always used to say domestic violence, and I was like, it's not that anymore.
Yes.
Like it's so, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Because I think it's also what we'll come to a little bit later is thinking about, okay, what's helpful in terms of teaching, what and I'll try and do those things. Did you want to?
About some learning, okay, I would say some 6 years ago, one of my modules, we had to travel because we're doing a course on organized crime.
Okay.
So we visited red light districts in Netherlands because we were studying about human trafficking, sex, and then drug trafficking. We went to Italy, so we visited those sites. So it was like a holiday. We were told to even talk to more like victims, because if you go to the red lights in Netherlands, you could just go in, the girls are just standing there, just ask them how much you collecting and stuff like that. So it's part of your research.
So again, it's something about contextualising learning, isn't it? I mean, just to say, as part of the module, you will be doing 3 days shadowing of a social worker, which is an opportunity to sort of get a sense of what the job is. You know,
On the 30, did you say?
that's part of the 30 days, yeah. So in this module, you will do shadowing. You do it in your own time, not on the module time. Sorry.
Do we
Yeah.
organise that ourselves?
No. We will all of the tasks, so on Pagopad you can have a look, the tab at the end is some tasks that we'll do throughout the module, and there's details of all those tasks, but they'll all be introduced in the sessions. I've staggered it, so we'll talk the other one. But yeah, there's an opportunity to kind of contextualise some of that. There's also other work, you know, so I'm not going to be taking you all on a class trip anywhere.
That's not what we want to hear.
Sorry. The risk assessment would be a nightmare. It's just, but there are other ways of contextualising it. So there's documentaries that you can watch. I use some clips from documentaries about social work just to try and kind of contextualise some of what we're learning. And we will also have a case that we work on throughout the module. So that you again have something to hang the sort of theory and stuff. We'll try and hang that on that case as we go through the module. You will also meet colleagues from our impact group, which is our group of people with lived experience, and you'll have the opportunity to interact with them. So asking questions about their experiences, some of those sorts of things, and students always really, really value that. So there'll be also all of those sorts of opportunities as well. Good. Okay. What else? I mean, we had a conversation at the table at the back about feedback, didn't we, as well? That there was a conversation about getting some feedback from, you know, your educator or whoever's supervising you. You know, checking in with the work that you're doing, giving you feedback, checking, you know, if you're falling behind, checking in with you about that kind of stuff. That could be quite helpful. Yeah.
So I'm just going to say, in terms of how I learn best, I'm one of those people who like to be doing it. So I love the theory and learning all about it, and it's like, oh, we're just going to do like this. But I learn quite a lot by actually being in practice myself. That's how I learn best. But
Yes.
yeah, just to
Yes.
so role plays, and I know some people don't like it, but when to look at people, I find that really beneficial personally, because they've been there, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We will be doing lots of that. We will be doing lots of that. So what I've increasingly become aware of is that, particularly if we're talking about skills, me standing up here saying, this is how you ask a good open question. You know, much more helpful for you to have a go, watch it back. Yes, it's excruciating, I know that. When you've got an accent like mine, it's particularly excruciating watching yourself back, but the learning you get from doing it and getting feedback on it and all of that. So there'll be lots of that. Some people will relish it, some people won't relish it, but it's really the only way to get a sense of how you're practicing. So
I think when you work with people as well, I've had it before, oh, I'm sure this question will be fine. It was not okay, and I was like, whoa, what did I do wrong? And it's your tone of voice, it's the way you say it, all the rest of it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realise I came across that way. Let's reflect on that and do it differently next time.
Yes, absolutely. So I've increasingly moved to much more experiential learning as I've developed the module. So yes, and quite often that's what students say is, it all started to really make sense when I got out in practice. Now, this is a university module, so I'm not taking you out into practice lots, you will do your shadowing, but we can try and do what we can here to make it as realistic as possible and to give you a little bit of a taster. So yeah. Okay, good. Right, how are you doing time-wise? Should we have a quick break, leg stretch, get a bit of fresh air if you need it? 10 minutes? Okay. So back at 5
What time?
Back at 5 too. Yeah, I've got 10 minutes, just a 10-minute one. We'll just test my audio now, see if that works. Marvellous. Shadow, yes, yeah. So my colleague comes along with a couple so what basically what we do and then basically negotiate those super like that. Usually do a 4 days, could do a couple more days instead. I mean, students, it's a great opportunity. That's not what my mind is listening to it's similar to alcohol, isn't it? Confusion from the years. If you look at last year, it's very much the same story. I don't know if yours is the same.
No.
It just says
We haven't got 3.5 years. Yeah. I might just go down to like the higher.
So what are we going to follow?
I'm just trying to.
You said so now, didn't you? This is the Blackpool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be fine, but I suppose I can't make other stuff that
She said.
sweet one stuff. This time will be fine. Yes, it's a long day. It's like, you shouldn't do it by I'll see how it
there's like so much to do each week. Having the full assignment sort of like, is it normal a little bit?
Yeah, each time, each time one assignment. Okay.
Yes, that's
Yeah, but it's like every week, even though it might be the same amount of work, it's like, if I've got a week, when am I going to look at that?
I always imagine I have in my head, so yeah, it's literally like, we do the preparation one week, then we do the next.
Yeah, I know, yeah,
they're all here.
Like the thing that sits in the corner, games and knowledge, there's no chance, like, I don't know if it was that, like, yeah, I know, like, it's just like, there's like, and then there's like, 12 and 1, and that's,
There's one next week.
On the screen.
I feel like it's still actually like, I guess like, even with like the child protection, almost loads of still, she can like physically walk out the rooms, but like it's not easier to like diffuse situations. And then like all these people sort of work, she's got your own, and it is like that's true. You can show you with a little bit. There's hard you have malls, which is about or you can have if you've got cheaper than so my Right, so we've spent a little bit of time thinking about a module and why the modules are where it is. We've spent a little bit of time thinking about your experiences of learning. Now prepare to be wowed. I got playing with some technology and it's only quite short, but I did a squiggle. Okay, you ready?
Oh, so excited. Oh, wow.
Language is a highly social activity. Learners are the makers of meaning, not empty vessels into which we pour wisdom. Learning does not occur when the learner passively receives information. Learning is made up from some or all of the following: critical thinking, motivation, learner independence, feedback, dialogue, problem solving. Social constructivism values learner reflection, cognitive conflict, and it encourages peer interaction. Some teachers should tell students why they're learning, help them to feel in control, provide opportunities for active engagement, plan to use students' previous experiences, be sensitive to the emotional aspects of learning experiences, and contextualise learning with real-life examples.
That was impressive.
Thank you very much.
Did you actually squiggle it?
I know, I'm glad you seem to be impressed. Well, actually that picks up a lot of what you were talking about, this idea of contextualising learning from each other, feedback, all of those things that you all talked about. And this is what we read about in the literature about adult learning. So the understanding why you're learning, being in control of your learning, motivated using real-life tasks. So that's one of the things I tried to write into the module, and motivated by knowledge and success. So seeing your development hopefully will help keep you motivated and enthused.
So these are some of the kind of principles that have gone into designing the module. This is a social work text, so this is specifically about social work education, and I guess thinking about the fact that as social workers, you will be using yourselves. That is your key tool. So in order to get you ready for practice, we will need to explore who you are, your life experiences, and what that means for your practice as social workers. So it will mean, Lizzie, that you're participating in experiential activities that reveals something about yourselves and in a safe environment. So that's the plan. So I have developed an approach over the years whereby we'll do simulations throughout the module. One of the bits of feedback that I had over a number of years was that students struggled a little bit with the simulation without a clear context for which they're practicing these skills. So I've developed a fake agency, innovatively called Worcestershire Support Services. It doesn't exist, I've made it up, okay. The key thing, so details of it, it's based on an agency that does really exist in practice, and details of it are in this section. So there's various pieces of information in here, the course handbook, and there's a PDF here that talks about the agency. So just so that you can get yourself orientated to, okay, when I'm on this module, there'll be a couple of bits at the end where we'll start to think more about statutory social work, but for most of the module, you're going to be pretending at times that you are a student social worker in a voluntary independent sector agency. And the reason for that is you haven't had the foundational training yet to do the statutory bit, because you really need to know a lot more about the law and safeguard, all of that sort of stuff. So we do have placements in the voluntary independent private sector, but it just means it's less complicated than having it set in a statutory setting. So it's a fictitious agency which offers a whole range of support for families and for adults as well, and group work programmes. So we will be picking up referrals to the fake agency and responding, yeah? So some people will find that a bit weird to get your head around for a bit. Some people will embrace it because they kind of like the experiential bit, but we've just found that that's helped students engage with the practical elements. And I've also developed these 3 key areas of focus for the assessment. So there are these 9 domains of the PCF that you'll get used to, but I've kind of tried to really focus down on these 3 key areas. Professionalism, reflection, and building relationships. So those are the 3 key areas that your report that you get on your, once your portfolio is submitted, will be around those 3 areas. My role in terms of assessing the practice element is more aligned to a practice educator when you go on placement, rather than an academic. So, for example, if you were to maybe write on your PebblePad portfolio, I really understand the importance of professionalism and being punctual and all of that, but actually you're always late, you never told me you're going to be late. I'm going to be like, I'm going to struggle to write a really glowing thing about your level of professionalism, because actually there's some conflicting pieces of evidence there. Does that make sense? So if I'm thinking about that, thinking about that idea of professionalism, what evidence do you think I will have to make that judgment of you by the end of the module? So how am I going to be assessing your professionalism throughout the module, do you think?
How you talk.
Yeah, I guess that's probably more the building relationships bit.
What about completing work and making deadlines?
Yes, quite fundamental, yeah? Now, I totally recognise that people have busy lives and sometimes, and that's the same as in practice, isn't it? So like if you're on placement and your manager said, I want you to write a report about this family by next Monday, and then suddenly something kicks off in another case, you have to prioritise that. What would you do?
Let them tell them. Communication.
Yeah? So it's not saying, like, if you're struggling or whatever, that you've got to, oh my goodness, like, I can't miss a deadline. Just think about how you can manage that professionally, liaise with, let me know, look, for this reason, I'm struggling a bit to meet this deadline, it's going to be a little bit, we can negotiate something different. Those are the behaviours that you will be expected to show on placement. One of the things we hear quite regularly from our employer partners is that it's that professional bit that sometimes students aren't showing, that they're not where we would expect them to be when they come out on placement. So really this is just about me trying to prepare you for, okay, when you go out, that's, you know, if you can't make it in work or you're late, you know, it's okay, but you need to kind of manage that proactively. Okay. What else might give that indication of?
Active listening.
So active listening certainly will be here in terms of building relationships, so your ability to build relationships. So who do you think you'll be building relationships with throughout the module?
Each other.
Each other, absolutely, yeah.
Students.
Yes, yeah. Social worker that you shadow, you'll certainly be building a relationship with that person as well.
Can we build one with you?
Me, yeah. Yeah.
What about agencies?
Well, I guess you would if you were in practice. In terms of here, really you'll be building relationships with the social worker that you work with. You won't be liaising with other agencies, but certainly on placement you would be, yeah. So yeah, I mean, when we're talking about service users, so you will be interacting with people from Impact, people with lived experience. So there are all of these places where there'll be feedback for you on how you've done. And that will give me an indication of that, you know, how effectively you're building relationships. What else? What about the other areas?
Language in your writing then?
Yes.
Non-judgmental
Yes.
sort of thing.
Yes. So we will. Obviously, we've talked about building relationships in terms of like verbal communication, I suppose, interpersonal skills. But actually, you will be engaging with some written communication. So you've got an essay to write, but that's academic work.
Yeah.
Writing for practice is a very different skill. So again, this is something that I'm quite passionate about. That, you know, I can stand there and I can talk to you about what's good practice in recording, but until you have a go and start getting some feedback on it, sometimes it doesn't always, it's a very, very different skill. So yes, certainly how you record will be really, really important in terms of building relationships, effective relationships and professionalism. Yeah. What else?
What about what you're talking about during work, like when you're in work? I've always kept quite professional.
Yeah, so thinking about professional boundaries, I suppose, you know. So, you know, that is recognising that as students on a social work course, the expectations on you are slightly higher. Then it's going to all wash out, just ready for when we finish. Yeah, so recognising that you are on a professional programme, so there are things, you know, we have had issues, touch wood, not for a number of years, but we have had issues about communication on social media, for example, WhatsApp groups, those sorts of things, you know. So recognise that you are on a professional programme. The way you communicate on those forums now takes on a different meaning, yeah? So yeah, that's another way of us getting a sense of kind of how you're doing. Digital professionalism. So there will be expectations that you get to use some of the technology. When you go out on practice, you will be expected to use Microsoft, OneDrive, Microsoft Teams, some of those things. So again, you demonstrating to me that we've got to grips with some of that. Because we had situations where students were told by their practice to go, oh, could you set up that Teams meeting, and they didn't know how to do it. Yeah, so like let's do that and practice that now, so that when we go out you feel
confident to do that. Reflection, you will have lots of opportunity, there will be lots of reflection, and within your portfolio there will be lots of written pieces of reflection as well, so there will be lots of chance to have a practice and get some feedback on how you're doing with your reflection. Just to reassure you, the expectation around reflection, if we think about the PCF, you need to demonstrate basic skills of reflection. Okay. I'll push you, because as you move through the course and beyond, there's an expectation that you'll show more critical levels of reflection, more in-depth levels of reflection. So I want to try and get you there, really, but in terms of passing the portfolio, you need to show basic skills of reflection. Okay? So there'll be lots of opportunities to get, there'll be lots of verbal reflection, but there'll be lots of written reflection in the portfolio. And building relationships, we've talked about. You also have opportunities to build relationships with other disciplines. So we do some interdisciplinary learning on the module where you'll meet and interact with students from other allied programs, so like OT, physio, med school, future GPs. So you'll have the opportunity to build relationships with those guys too. So I'm just going to pause for a moment, and I'm just going to let you have a 5-minute chat on your tables about what you've just heard, how you're feeling about that, and just to have a little think on your tables about which bits of this do you think you're kind of okay with, which bits do you think, ooh, that might be the bit I need to focus on, yeah? Because there will be some homework for you to do, I think it's next week, where you'll have to write down your learning needs. So just to start having a little think about some of those things, okay? So just kind of 5 minutes on your tables.
Professionalism.
There's no rules on
You've heard a lot about the module, and you're already having your own reactions to that, and you've kind of got a bit of a sense of how the portfolio is going to be assessed. So is there anything anyone wants to ask or clarify at this point?
Yes, for the reflection, could we have access to like a sample of how to critically do reflection?
Yes, so we will prepare you for reflection. So, and I was talking to the table at the back, because for some people they may have experienced reflection before, they may have done courses where reflection was a big part of it. I didn't. I did a management degree before I did my social work training, so I like to get on and get things done. So reflection was a struggle for me, big time. So we will look at what reflection is. We'll look at some models that will help for those of you who work. Those models can help sometimes. And I've also decided this year that I am going to keep a reflective journal as well. I've never done it before. I'm hoping I'll remember to keep it on. So that's the plan. So that you can see, I'm not saying I'm like tip-top, but just to get a sense, and that will also help us keep a dialogue open about the module, I'm hoping, as well. So, because what I also want to invite you to do, so I'm giving you all permission that if there are things in the module that you're feeling aren't going well or aren't right or aren't helpful for you, please speak to me about it. Because this, for me, education is a relational thing. It's us in a relationship together. Yeah, it's not about me imparting my wonderful wisdom to you. So if things are unhelpful, we can have a conversation about it. If that's the experience of the majority of the room, we can change things. But that reflective, I was thinking that keeping a reflective dialogue hopefully will give you a sense of what reflection can look like, but we'll also maybe open up some of that dialogue about how things are going and stuff as well. So the plan is to do that on Blackboard. So there is a section in here, is it? Ask the Tutor. So it's like a discussion board thing on Blackboard. So feel free to post any queries that you have about the modules or the work or whatever on there. If you've got a question, it's likely someone else is wondering the same thing, so if you put it on there, they can get the answer. But I will also, that's where I'll make my little reflective things as well. So it's not on, I've literally just read it. So maybe no, it's fine. I'm hoping it will be visible, maybe if you refresh it. Yeah, because I've literally just read it visible.
Do we have to incorporate a reflection model in our journal? Which reflection model we've used to get to where we've got to?
No. So we will, I might give you, I think one of the pieces of guidance asks you to choose a reflective model and use it. Really, the key thing is you developing an approach that works for you. There's loads of reflective models. There might be a model that you like that really helps you, There'll be some others that you don't find particularly helpful. So I don't want to say you have to use Gibbs or you have to use. A lot of people like Gibbs, I like Gibbs. So there are models for those of you who ask it. So yeah. So you might, choose if that works for you, and I'll give you some feedback. Okay. Good question. Any other?
You mentioned that we're going to be working on a case during the module.
Yes.
Is it a hypothetical case or a real case?
Yes, so hypothetical. Yes, so it's a hypothetical case that we will pick up and work on throughout the module. But one case that we'll build on rather than, I used to bring lots of different case studies, but actually it can be helpful to get to know one family really quite in depth. Any other queries? Okay, we're nearly there, guys. We're last push. I'd like you to there'll be some stuff that we've already covered, but what I'd like is to get a kind of group agreement going. So on here I've put 3 questions. So what we all want to have a nice time, and we all want you to be successful. Okay, and pass and do really well and can write these amazing reports that you all, that's what we want. So how are we going to get there? So thinking about what do you need to do, what do you need me to do, and what does the learning environment, as in the group stuff, need to be? Yeah? So have some conversations about and we'll generate a bit of a group agreement and put it in. Yeah? Come on, you've got this.
What we need to do, what I need to do.
Right now, so I'm staying on top of
Just the kind of, and it really like a lot, so there's 2 things that just around just that's the stuff that you really in terms of
go away and find out how you like to learn, like you said, you're a visual learner now. And I learned to find out YouTube
so obviously there are
social worker.
So I stopped being a social
When you say you don't get structure,
And 17th one, yeah, then.
What I need to do.
10 and 9.
It's gone quiet. It's actually Okay, so let's just see what we've got to develop something together. So thinking about this goal of having nice time and all being successful and all doing really well, what do you need to do as students? What are some of the things? Turn on. Take on time. Let's keep the bar quite low.
Do and engage with the work.
Yes. What's the first bit? Do. Do needs to do the work. Yeah, what I would invite you to do is engage with the work, and if the work's not helpful to you, tell me. Yeah? What I don't want is for students to start engaging with the work, not like it, not find it helpful, and disengage. Do you know what I mean? That can happen, I know, I've been there and done it. So if you're like, oh, this is like not really helping me, talk to me and we'll, Okay, good. What else?
Communicate and like support each other.
Yeah.
So like if someone comes in and I'm going to be able to be able to be brilliant, while we'll be having a chance to do the reading, can someone just summarise for me?
Yeah.
Just be supportive of one another with that, 'cause we've got yeah, you can't use that excuse because
Communicate, support each other, and we talk about team players, Yeah. What else? You talked about being organised.
Nice type of things.
Yeah.
Just get them off and rather than trying to catch up.
Yeah. If you can try and keep on top of it, it will help a lot. Yeah. Okay. Anything from me? What do you need me to do?
set the work.
Set work. Answer emails. Well, answer emails. Yeah.
Be supportive if we get stuck.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah.
Constructive feedback.
Yeah. Don't just say you're doing that wrong. Be like, you're doing that wrong because of this, and this. Maybe you can try this, and this.
With a smile.
Yeah.
Fair enough, I like your jump instead.
The sandwich approach.
I love your shoot, you have found the assignment.
Continue to make the course lovely as you're already doing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess it's what is that? I mean,
Engaging.
You've got a very good coach, have you? Very in the afternoon.
Well, I try and stay enthusiastic, because for me, like, you know, you've got to try and keep the energy up, particularly as it's the afternoon and stuff, With your hand up. Learn to shout. Shut up! Is that okay? To shout? I remember one time an observation when I was doing my teacher training, and the feedback, talking about constructive feedback, the feedback was, I'm not sure your strategy of just talking louder when people are talking in the group, is that useful? I'll reflect on that and I will work on it, yes. Okay, shout.
Yeah.
Learning environment?
Supportive and engaging.
Yeah.
I was going to say consistent, but I just found out we're moving next week.
Yeah, apologies. The timetable has been such a nightmare, so please do check your online calendar. I have been alerted that they were at a different campus next Tuesday, City campus.
Where's that? At a park?
God. There was parking next to it. So I've made a note because actually the room is cosy. We've got more people on the course than we anticipated, so I am going to try and see if there's any chance of getting a bigger room, hopefully here. But I will confirm to you all by email that yes, we are. Just be aware on the City campus next week. There's a few other sessions that are different times and are different venues as well.
Are we still all right to check the sole timetable for where we're going to be? Is that all?
Yes, do check that. I have now, I think, taken off the extra on things. I think that's all come out.
Hereford's not in Hereford.
The Hereford room is not in Hereford. It's in the conference centre. Yeah, you will not be going to Hereford. You know, so actually City campus is like a business now. It's not in Hereford. Just thinking about the learning environment. So I guess just thinking about what we'll be doing and how we'll be working in the module, that I will be asking you to take a few risks, to push yourself outside your comfort zone a bit, to engage in simulation. So it's really important. I mean, you've said supportive, but we hold on to that. Yeah, but we support each other to like have a go at things and have each other's backs and all of that stuff. Yeah, because that just really helps people to feel like they can push themselves outside of their comfort zone a little bit. Other things, just the things that always come up on ground rules. Phones, it's fine to have your phone switched on, but just put it on silent. If you have, if you might get a call from nursery or school or whatever, it's fine. Just get up and take the call outside. That's, you don't have to like stop me and go. I just go and do what you need to do. It's okay to eat. You need to keep your energy levels up. I'll have a bit of an issue with crisps. So just, not noisy foods. Having had a student open a bag of crisps and then crunch. 10 minutes, I was like, So yeah, but it's okay if you need a bit of something to breathe on to keep your energy levels up, that's absolutely fine. I think those are the key things. We'll check in if there's anything we need to add on as we go through, we can add it on, but I'll type that up and photograph it and put it on Blackboard for you all. Okay, I think we are nearly there. Just a very random thing now, right? There are loads of things about me, and I know you'll just think about you. I'm a bit of an environmentalist, and I'm a food waste volunteer, right? So I'm a volunteer for Olio, so I collect food that would go in the bin that's perfectly fine, and I distribute it via an app. Okay? Now, what that means is that sometimes I have a lot of baguettes.
Exhibit A. Feel free if you use baguettes. They were good at Tesco yesterday, they're absolutely fine.
They empty baguettes.
They're empty baguettes, I don't get those baguettes. Yeah, I sometimes get pastries, so I sort of, you know, help yourself if you can use a baguette, pretty random. Other than that, I think we're good, we're back tomorrow anyway, aren't we?
What are we doing on Fridays again?
Tomorrow we are doing a bank group work, I think. I think it's bank group work tomorrow, yeah. And I don't think there's any PowerPoint. Have a lovely evening. It's not too bad out there, Lina. Where are we tomorrow? Shall I show you where we are? Why did you go through the first one? Not the first one, yeah? How much I got, because I asked them all, oh my goodness, what was your name again? This is quite unique. It's used to not really the left. Well, I'm not checking that they're completely they're doing that fine. If the student's DBS check is of course one of the reference with the admissions so that was it. So that's the response I got from first point. So then I forwarded it to the admissions team, but I'm going first point because they did it for all my students. So yeah, okay. George,
Thank you. You didn't collect the
I meant to say that now. Yes, I don't know. I'm looking at it for tomorrow.
When I put like the myself, that Brazil is myself.
Yes. I shall not put away safely.
Allowed to easily tell the different parts of the system.
I even wrote it on the top of my head. Thank you, and you.
Provides an alternative way to understand the system. How to use it.
Good, yeah, please. Don't make me carry on.
Access can be nearby because you gain the access.
Pleasure.